Apple will begin selling unlocked versions of the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus here in the U.S. starting today. So joining us now to talk about what this means for Apple is Rajiv Chand, Managing Director and Head of Research at Rutberg & Company. Rajiv, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly does it mean to have an unlocked iPhone?
Yeah, to have an unlocked iPhone means that you can buy your iPhone from one place and then take that iPhone to any operator that you want and buy a service from that operator. So it used to be that we would all, and it still is for a majority of the people today, where you'd buy your phone and your service from the same place. If you have an unlocked iPhone, you can take an iPhone, go to any operator you want, ask them for their best offer if they're willing to give it, and then use that iPhone on any operator.
And so talking about that a little bit further, is there any real benefit to buying an unlocked iPhone? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think today in the U.S., the benefit is somewhat marginal. Today in the U.S., you've seen operators switch from subsidies to equipment installment plans already. And so the operators are giving the same prices, if you would, to unlocked iPhones as they're giving to their equipment installment planned iPhones. There were already unlocked iPhones available with the 5 and the 5S. And you can already get an unlocked iPhone 6 and 6 Plus if you go to Apple and buy a T-Mobile plan. So I think the market impact today is relatively marginal.
And what does Apple specifically get out of this by unlocking the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus? I mean, is there any upside for that company?
Yeah, there are two things that Apple is looking for here. The first thing that Apple is looking for is to give consumers the maximum choice. And so to give consumers as much freedom as possible to do what they want with their devices. I think the second thing that Apple gets is, over time, more freedom itself from the operators. So the constraints that operators place through their relationships and through their contracts with Apple, Apple becomes a little bit more free from those operator relationships through this unlocked iPhone 6 and 6 Plus.
And let's stay in a little bit more on the carrier specifically, because an unlocked iPhone means you can essentially move around between the carriers more freely. How does this strike at the heart of these wireless wars over pricing that we've seen among the biggest U.S. carriers?
Yeah, so again, in the near term, I think the impact is still somewhat marginal. If you take an unlocked iPhone, you go to an operator today, you still are in the U.S. a largely postpaid market, and so you have to buy a SIM, or actually buy a plan, commit to a SIM for a significant period of time. So in the U.S., in the near term, I think the impact here is pretty marginal. I think over the long term, if there is a next step of an unlocked iPhone leading to what's called a soft SIM iPhone, then the price wars amongst operators would become even more exacerbated than it is today. But in the short term, again, I think the impact is pretty small. I think in the long term, if there is a future of a soft SIM iPhone where you can truly switch between operators on any day, week, month, or year, I think that would have a significant impact on the pricing wars in the U.S.
And Rajiv, you just took the last question out of my mouth, the fact that there has been chatter about these soft SIMs being installed in the future. So just really quickly, just a little bit more on what that would mean for Apple, consumers, and carriers. Just a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so a soft SIM for operators would have a substantial warning for their business. If you have an unlocked iPhone with a soft SIM, a consumer can on any moment pick an operator based on who has the best offer. We've already seen price wars here in the U.S. over the past year or two. Those price wars will become substantially more intense if you had daily, weekly, monthly competition, amongst the operators. For consumers, it would mean substantially more choices, lower prices. Now, it could also mean, potentially, lower capital investments for operators, which could be a negative for consumers as well. And then for Apple, a move to a soft SIM, which is something that they have refuted an interest in, at least thus far, a move to a soft SIM would be in line with Apple's position as the proponent for consumers. And so it would give Apple a much more consumer-friendly value proposition for its iPhones.
Rajiv Chand, thanks for joining us today. Thank you for watching. I'm Morgan Brennan. Have a great day.